Hello and welcome back to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Dumbest Moments of the Week. Well, we've got an interesting news story about Alex to talk about today, to say the least. But first of all, let's talk about where Alex has been lately. I haven't heard much from her recently, not much at all, and I'm starting to get a little worried. It was like she kind of disappeared once this whole pandemic started and things started heating up in the news. Other stories were going on, and Alex just sort of fell by the wayside. She got lost in the shuffle, and it's kind of surprising since she's been on the news and on the cover of everything like for 2 years now. She's a really big attention seeker, so her losing fame and clout recently must be very unsettling. I'm kind of worried about her. I wonder if we should do a wellness check on her apartment, see if everything's all right. But don't worry, we do have a new story. Recently, things came up about Alex actually kind of forgetting to pay a bill from 7 years ago. Yeah, it's popped up that she had some sort of business endeavor a few years back and she never paid the taxes on it. This is especially troubling since, of course, Alex is the biggest pro-tax person of all time. She promotes plans like the Green New Deal, which suggests we raise taxes immensely. We're already getting taxed like 30% depending on your state and your family situation. But Alex would like us to be taxed more. She wants the government to pay for everything, so we need more taxes. That means we need more money from the citizens who are paying them. God forbid the illegal immigrants she wants to bring in help us pay for things. Oh no, we want the American citizens to pay for everything, and she would happily hike our taxes up to say 50 or 60%, taking more than half our money because apparently AOC and other Democrats think they could spend our money better than we can. Now, this comes up again because, like I said, she's got another story where she failed to pay some taxes on an old business she started years back. It's a bit of a different story. It's something that's been dug up by some reporters, but it's interesting nonetheless, and we're going to get to that soon. But first, let me just take a quick moment to talk to you about my second channel. I recently relaunched and revamped No Bullshit 2, and it's now called NoBS News. I'm going to be doing new videos on there almost every day on weekdays, and then weekends we're going to be doing more live streams. So make sure you guys check out that second channel. There's already like say 10 or 12 more videos on there for you to check out right now. So if you want more content, search NoBS News on YouTube or click the link below this video. Great. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk more about Alex. Here's a tweet from Sean Hannity. It says, another bill Ocasio-Cortez refuses to pay. 7-year-old taxes from failed business. This is interesting for a variety of reasons, like we already mentioned. Alex wants everyone else to pay taxes, but she doesn't seem too keen on paying her own. And this also goes in line with a lot of other things she won't pay. She's one of the people that wants to wipe away student debt. She has a lot of student debt herself. She went to college. Apparently she didn't learn much, but she went and she spent a lot of money on it anyway, and now she doesn't want to pay the bill, and she also doesn't want to pay this tax bill, which is very interesting because she's at the same time proposing higher taxes, proposing we get more money from the people, but she doesn't want to pay it. So that's kind of the Democratic motto of do as I say, not as I do. Kind of, it's okay when liberals shirk their taxes and payments and don't want to pay for things, but Republicans and everyone else, we got to pay up. Anyway, let's go to this article and see more details. Let's see what we got going on here. Another bill, Ocasio-Cortez refuses to pay 7-year-old taxes from failed business. AOC wants to raise taxes on the rich, but just won't pay her own. Well put. Next, let's see what the article says. The New York Post has an article about AOC, and the first line is priceless. U.S. Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wants to raise taxes on the rich, just not pay her own. The Democratic Congresswoman reportedly still has not paid taxes on a failed business venture of hers from 7 years ago. I wonder what this video says. Let's go for that.
That just goes to show how interconnected we all are. And by the way, they pay taxes. I say this all the time because people don't know. They pay more taxes, more billions of dollars in taxes than many corporations do. So it just makes sense. But long term, we need to address healthcare, housing, wages, and we need to make sure that we do it in a way that's not means tested, where there's all these Swiss holes that people fall through and their problems aren't addressed.
Okay, she's talking about her typical SJW leftist agenda. She's looking like she's on one of her classic live streams. We've covered those before. They always go wrong and south because she's just not that good on the fly. She has a terrible speaking style. She's always like, oh my God, we need to get this. Oh my God, like when are the Democrats gonna do? Trump is a racist. You guys know how she sounds. You guys know how ridiculous that looks. So let's read on and see where this story goes. In 2012, Ocasio-Cortez started the Brook Avenue Press, a publishing house that sought designers, artists, and writers from urban areas to help paint the Bronx in a positive way in children's stories. One can only imagine the lessons on paying taxes in those books, something along the lines of don't do it or demand the government pay them for you, or the likely just run for Congress one day, heavily tax the rich, and use their money. Okay, very ironic already. Regardless, the state dissolved the company in October 2016, after which the state tax department then filed a warrant against her now defunct business on July 6, 2017, over a $1,600 unpaid bill, reported the New York Post. States can dissolve companies when they fail to pay corporate taxes or file a return. Public records show that as of Friday, the tax warrant had still not been satisfied, and the outstanding balance had grown to $2,000, said the New York Post. A representative for AOC said the Congresswoman is currently challenging the bill, claiming it was issued in error. The Congresswoman is still in the process of contesting the tax warrant. The business has been closed for several years now, and so we believe that the state tax department has continued to collect the franchise tax in error, said the AOC spokeswoman Lauren Hitt. Okay. Interesting turn of events here. So instead of just paying it off or asking her partners or someone else to just pay the $2,000, which granted, that's a good amount of money, but this chick works for Netflix for starters, and also she's a representative in our government. I mean, they don't get paid fat cash, but she does get like $100,000 a year, and in addition, she's getting paid off by Netflix. She's doing speaking tours. I mean, this chick has $2,000. Granted, I would probably contest anything too, especially if it was this much, but the fact that she refuses to pay this shows a lot. It shows that she's not interested in paying her own way. She doesn't care about paying her own bills. She'll impose lots of bills onto us. She'll make us pay for things. She'll make other people pay for stuff. She'd probably ask for donations or something to pay off this bill. Like, she's entitled. And she's hypocritical, and she doesn't care about how she looks publicly. Like, she's already got this sort of statement and this sort of image she's created, and she's just going with it and hoping that her followers are ignorant enough to not see through the cracks. The question remains, why wait so long? And if the business had been closed, why did the state have to dissolve it? AOC has gained a reputation of all take and no give. The same woman who proposes taxes on the rich to be increased up to as much as 70% has also not paid her minimal House Democratic campaign dues. This is another bill she hasn't paid. I've heard about this. She hasn't paid her dues for being a Democrat, for being a part of the party. There's party dues, and she's refusing to pay that too. I'm not sure how much that is. I'm sure it's a couple thousand or something too, but it just goes to show these bills are adding up. The story is coming together. We can see that this woman is not a serious person. She's not someone who will take responsibility for her actions. She blames her failures on everyone else. She never listens. She never considers that she might be wrong or someone else might be right. She's very stubborn, very tight with her money, and it's just an interesting thing because she feels entitled to other people's money. She wants to tax the rich 70%, but she won't pay her few $1,000s off an old business, off of a house due. You know, I mean, the House Democrats got her elected. She got put together by the Justice Democrats, but they're using the Democratic name in the party to get her in the door and to get her legitimacy, and she doesn't want to pay back for that. I think she probably thinks she's better than that. She thinks she's too big now. She thinks she's too big to fail. I wouldn't be surprised because people like her are very, very cocky, very overconfident, very self-centered, entitled, and it just goes to show through the details we're going over now. Ocasio-Cortez defended her actions by blaming her own party. AOC said the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, or the DCCC, made clear that they will blacklist any org that helps progressive candidates like me. I can choose not to fund that kind of exclusion. Clearly, the Congresswoman believes it is up to her discretion to pay mandatory bills. That's a good point. That's a good place for this article to end on. Not only is she not paying those taxes on an old business, she's not paying her dues on the Democratic committee, and it's not up to her. If you get a bill, you should normally pay it unless you're getting some kind of scam or you're some kind of there is some kind of legitimate error, but this all looks totally legitimate to me. As we said, she tried a business, there were taxes, the dues added up. That was a situation that she actively engaged in herself. Then we have the Democratic Party. She ran for election. She chose to run as a Democrat. She needs to pay those dues. That's part of the system, part of keeping the party going. And she refuses because she has some disagreement about being progressive. Well, why didn't she run as a progressive? She should have ran as just progressive. She should have left out the Democratic Party if she didn't want to participate and be an active member in it. It's just that simple. It just shows how biased and kind of hypocritical these people are. They'll impose taxes and fees and all this stuff on everyone else. And if we didn't pay, I'm sure she would throw someone like me or Trump or another conservative right into jail. They'd fine us to death and make us stay and sit in a cell with some big prison wife. And, that's not a big deal to them. But when it comes to her case, she thinks she's the end all be all. She has the power. And it goes to show how self-centered and just silly this person is. She doesn't understand. She's not an adult. She's not a grown, serious person. She just turned 30, I think. She's around 30. She's about to go over the hill. Already kind of not grown up. These kinds of people. She's a millennial. She never grew up. She lived with her parents her whole life. She was pampered and treated well, got servants and all this stuff. She had a very high class upbringing. So much so she didn't know what a garbage disposal was until she moved to Washington, D.C. So if that tells you anything, I think we can understand. This is a very not serious person. She doesn't understand adult obligations like paying your bills, paying your taxes. And that goes to another level too, because you got to consider the fact that this is the same person who wants to raise our taxes, and she won't pay her taxes or her bills. It doesn't really make sense. And she refuses to accept them when they go towards her, but she'll tax other people and she acts like she knows how to spend the money. It's just a big mess. I think you guys could see. It's a big mess of a situation, and it goes to show that she's just not a serious person. She doesn't understand how economy and taxes and bills work. She won't pay her own. So why should she be in charge of the country's taxes? Like, what gives her that responsibility? Why does she think she's responsible for that? Like, why does she think she could propose such a big plan like the Green New Deal in her first year as this junior congresswoman who got elected just because she was a girl in New York City, in the Bronx? I mean, let's be real. She got elected because she's a Democratic woman. She's a minority. That's the whole thing. She's all identity, no substance. It had nothing to do with what she said or did. It has nothing to do with it. Like, she could say anything and she would have won that election. And now she said all the dumbest stuff ever, and she's still kind of haunting our nightmares. I mean, granted, like we said at the beginning of this video, she's been kind of falling to the wayside lately. I bet that's kind of bumming her out because she's an attention seeker and she loves to be on the front lines and on camera and on the headlines. She's like very obsessed with herself. So this is the first story I saw that brought her back. That's why we're bringing back AOC's Dumbest Moments of the Week. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for your time. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Tell me what you think about this story. Alex dodging her bills, why she thinks she can bill other people's stuff, but she won't pay her own. Very hypocritical. I wonder how that kind of mindset works. I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts below. Make sure you also remember to subscribe to the new NoBS News channel. That link is below as well. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Thanks again for watching. You guys have a great day.